My name is Maya Bennett. I am 31 years old, and I live alone in a small apartment above an old grocery store. My landlord, Mr. Harold Mason, is 71. He owns the entire building. Every night, before going to bed, I lock my door twice. But every few days, I wake up and find something strange in my kitchen. A bag of groceries, bread, eggs, milk, sometimes fruit or canned food. I never bought them. At first, I thought I was forgetting things. But when I checked my bank account, there was never a grocery purchase. Someone was entering my apartment, and I knew who it was: Harold Mason. But before you judge him, you need to know why. 2 years earlier, my life had been completely different. I worked as a nurse at a local hospital. The salary wasn't great, but I loved my job. I also had a husband named Daniel. We had been married for 3 years, and we dreamed about buying a small house and starting a family. Then Daniel became sick. At first, we thought it was something minor, but his condition became worse quickly. Doctors, medicines, tests, hospital stays, the bills never stopped. We used all our savings. Then we sold our car. I worked extra shifts at the hospital, sometimes 12 hours at a time. I was exhausted, but I didn't care. Daniel needed me. Every night, I held his hand and told him, "We're going to get through this." But we didn't. Daniel died one quiet morning in April. After his funeral, I felt like half of me had disappeared. I had no husband, almost no savings, and thousands of dollars in medical bills. I couldn't afford our old apartment anymore. So I moved into Harold Mason's building because the rent was only $600 a month. When I first met Harold, he didn't seem particularly friendly. He watched me carry my boxes upstairs and simply said, "Rent is due on the 1st." I nodded. That was it. For several months, I managed to pay my rent. Then things became harder. My hospital bills kept arriving, and I started skipping meals to save money. One month, I could only afford $400 in rent. I knocked on Harold's door. "I'm sorry," I said. "I only have $400. I'll pay the rest next month." He looked at me for a moment. Then he said, "Pay what you can." He took the money and closed the door. I expected anger. Instead, he said nothing. A few weeks later, I came home after another long shift. My refrigerator was almost empty. I had no money until payday. I sat on the kitchen floor and cried. I was tired of being strong. The next evening, something strange happened. There was a paper bag sitting beside my stove. Inside were bread, eggs, milk, and a few apples. I hadn't bought them. I checked the door. It was locked. Then I noticed the kitchen window. It was slightly open. The lock had been broken for months. I immediately understood. But I didn't feel afraid. For the next few weeks, the groceries appeared again and again. Sometimes bread and milk. Sometimes vegetables. Once, there was even a small container of homemade soup. I became certain Harold was doing it. One night, I decided to stay awake. I turned off the lights and waited. Around midnight, I heard the window move. I froze. An old hand slowly reached inside. Then Harold's face appeared. He stopped when he saw me. "I'm sorry, Maya," he whispered. I stared at him. "Why are you doing this?" He climbed inside and placed a grocery bag on the counter. Then he sighed. "When I was young, I had nothing," he said. "I lost my job and couldn't pay my rent. For several months, I slept in the basement of a church." He looked down. "I was hungry all the time." Then he told me about a woman named Evelyn. She lived near the church. Every few days, she left food outside for him. She never asked questions. She never expected anything in return. "She kept me alive," Harold said. "I always wanted to repay her, but I never got the chance. She died before I could." His eyes became wet. "So I made myself a promise. If I ever saw someone struggling the way I once struggled, I would help them." He looked at me. "I saw your hospital bills. I saw how tired you were. I knew about your husband." I couldn't speak. He continued quietly. "You were going hungry, Maya. I couldn't simply watch." Tears filled my eyes. "You didn't have to do this." He smiled sadly. "Yes, I did. I'm only finishing what Evelyn started." From that night, everything changed. Harold stopped sneaking through the window. Instead, he knocked on my door. Sometimes he brought groceries. Sometimes we shared tea. I told him stories about Daniel. He told me stories about his younger years. Slowly, he became like family. But then the neighbors noticed. One afternoon, a woman named Mrs. Collins stopped me in the hallway. "I've seen Harold entering your apartment at night," she said. My face became hot. "He brings me food." She raised an eyebrow. "People are talking." Soon, the rumors spread. Someone even left a note under my door. "We know what you're doing." I felt humiliated. I told Harold everything. "Maybe you should stop coming," I said. He looked at me. "Do you want me to stop?" I shook my head. "No. You're the only family I have here." He smiled. "Then let them talk. We know the truth." A few weeks later, the building association called a meeting. They questioned Harold about entering my apartment at night. I wanted to disappear, but Harold stood up. He told everyone about his childhood. He told them about Evelyn. He told them about Daniel and my medical bills. Then he said, "I wasn't looking for anything from Maya. I was simply giving her what someone once gave me." The room became completely silent. Mrs. Collins lowered her head. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I judged you without knowing the truth." One by one, the other neighbors apologized too. After that meeting, something beautiful happened. People started helping each other. One neighbor brought meals. Another offered to help with my medical bills. Someone else gave me extra shifts at the hospital. I realized Harold's kindness had created something bigger than either of us expected. A year later, I had finally paid most of my debt. I was also saving money again. One evening, Harold knocked on my door. He handed me a small grocery bag. I smiled. Again. He laughed. Old habits. I looked at the bread and milk inside. Then I hugged him. "Thank you." He smiled. "Don't thank me." Just promise me one thing. What? When you become strong enough to help someone else, do it. I nodded. I promise. That night, I understood something I would never forget. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can save someone who is silently falling apart. To Harold, that grocery bag was just bread, milk, and eggs. To me, it was hope. It reminded me that even after losing Daniel, my savings, and the life I once knew, I was not completely alone. And years later, whenever I see someone struggling, I remember Evelyn. Because kindness doesn't always end with the person who receives it. Sometimes, it travels from one heart to another. And sometimes, a simple bag of groceries can become the beginning of a new life.